All right, we're here. Why we don't know, but we are here. We are back with as many pickleball stories as a person can have, since they referenced us as pickleball champions. So it is Michael Miller and partner in crime Adam Schneider with the ultimate Yankee, Frankie the Yankee Cassese, in his locker at his house.
The lockers over there.
Yankees
Those are the
Coast
seats.
to Coast baseball.
The box seats are behind me.
The box seats to behind me.
Yeah.
Frankie, tell us a little bit about the chair you're sitting on.
Oh, it's I can't tell you. Well, it's Johnny Damon's. I can take it. So it's
Tuchus. His Tuchus. You can say the word
Tuchus. His
Tuchus.
locker chair, and it also came. I forgot about his locker.
Nice.
Yes, and what has been on that chair? What was that you were telling us has been on that chair?
What's that?
What did you say has been on that chair?
Well, I guess at one point after he showered, his towel was off. I mean, nothing but him.
So you are sitting on Johnny Damon's testicles rest place.
Well, I got protection on, so I'm okay.
Okay, you wearing a cup for the show as usual?
Yes. All ready.
So today's show, Adam, why don't you read the topic, since I'm not allowed to see it according to our app?
I don't know where. I can't see it either.
You should have the topic. Anyhow, well,
I didn't see him
remember it. Football is over. It is official. Pitchers and catchers. It is baseball season. Today we're going to talk about how the teams all did in the offseason, with our special focus on the team we love, the New York Yankees.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of teams, this is hope springs eternal.
Oh, you stole the line.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry. I feel bad. No, I don't. The bottom line is this is a great time. Are there better words in the English language than pictures and catch? I mean, it's starting. The beginning of the year, I love this. To me, this is my New Year's Day. I hate to say it. The rest of the whole last month and a half, it's like the start of the year before.
When I was younger, the words "I just got laid" were better words, but now I'm getting to be 60. It's
it's
a family show.
It's so rare.
That's what works better for me.
Exactly.
I will say this, for those of you tuned in live on the Mic'd Up app, all you got to do is hit the microphone at the bottom of the screen, and you can leave us a 30-second message with whatever you want to say, and we will play it on the air. We do like when people leave us voicemail messages, especially if they're reacting to anything stupid, which is everything that we say. And we also like to get messages like that. If you want to text or email any one of the three idiots on the screen, we'll try and get to those as well. But the voiceovers are always the best. And use that Mic'd Up app and use the microphone at the bottom. So our theme song today, did you hear the theme song today? Do you know where it came from?
No.
It's This Week in Baseball. The old This Week in Baseball theme song.
Really?
Yeah.
I did pick up on that.
Yeah, it's the very early portion of that song.
Do you remember the old one? Do you remember like they had da 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 da?
Yeah.
It was great. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was great. That was Saturday, and that to me was 4. That meant like it was 2:00 in the afternoon, and the Yankees and somebody that was not the Yankees was playing. Because first of all, the Yankees were so bad they never would make it. They'd never make the game of the week. And I'm sure there was some kind of blackout, but I don't think that's the reason. I think the Yankees generally did not interest anybody in the 1970s until the great teams came. But like 74, who cared?
Well, they could have been talking about the Mike Kekich, Fritz Peterson wife swap. Munson won Rookie of the Year in 73, didn't he? 70, 71? What year did Munson win Rookie
70.
76.
70.
No, 70. I'm 68.
Munson was Rookie of the Year in 68?
1970.
Oh, okay.
He came up in 69, and then he was Rookie of the Year in 70.
And 71 was Fisk, right?
Fisk. And, anyway, great night. What fun. I'm very happy to be here. Happy to have my friends here tonight, too. Frankie, it's just the best. I'm just so glad, and we have we have a lot to talk about tonight.
And what do you mean friends? You have no friends.
It's just the two of you and my 3 buddies here. We've got Kramer, we got Lou, and we've got Thurm. Which one of these guys is alive still?
None of them are alive.
No.
Anyhow,
Look,
I
he's
will
very
say
upset.
this: we do need to do a shout out to last week's guest, Dr. Joe Osty, the 97-year-old man, or at least he claims to be 97. I think he's more like 116. Had his hip replaced today, so we're going to do a shout out, and we've all heard from him today that he's doing very well. As you can see, he's all bobbleheaded up.
The only person whose bobblehead is actually better looking than he is.
That's not true.
Joe's a
His
handsome man.
bobblehead is better than his.
Joe's a very handsome guy as far as these things go, but he's a lot better looking than the real thing. Sorry. I mean, maybe Kramer. I mean, Kramer's kind of funny looking in real life.
I'm looking at Kramer. Maybe Kramer too.
Maybe
Kramer's got to be better looking in a bobblehead. So what can you do? The nerve of Kramer's wearing 42, though. I just, well, he does have closer stuff, I guess.
Got it. So how do we feel about the Yankees offseason? Let's get to it. Well, I'll leave it to let's have our guest start off with his thoughts on the Yankee offseason. Go for it. Tell us what you think.
Well, I mean, outside of Soto and Verdugo, I mean, there's not much. I don't think. I mean, they're going to be better. They have to be better. I mean, then again, last 200 games, they're 500. So, I think that just by Soto in the lineup is going to make the other hitters better. And the other batters be seeing better pitches. So I think they'll be better with him. I mean, he's going to prove it a lot. So I mean, they can't be 80. They got to do more than 82 wins with that lineup.
Well, I mean, if you look at the team, right? I pulled some stuff out, and if you look at the team, if we go position by position, for where they were at the start of 23, where they were at the end of 23, and where they are now, if you look around, they're better at first base than they were at the end of the season because Rizzo is allegedly healthy. And when he's healthy, he doesn't get, when he doesn't get bopped in the head trying to get a pickoff on Tatis Jr., he doesn't miss games generally, right? So even if he goes back and is not as good as the 300 hitter he was before the concussion, and he goes back to being 245 with 30 homers and 97 RBIs and a 350 on base, they're much better than they were last year when they were rotating guys like Bauer and right? Second base, they're the same, right? Right now, they're the same. Shortstop, no longer a rookie. They're better.
Maybe better.
Third base, LeMahieu in the second half was good. Last year, they started the season with Donaldson over there. So they're better at, three positions on the infield and the same at the fourth. What do you guys think about the infield?
I like it. I'm really okay with LeMahieu playing third base. I really am. I'm fine with that. I'm not crazy. I'm okay with Volpe, though. I'm not thrilled that Peraza is not getting his shot. I think that he somehow we've been saying this since day one. The Yankees had an opportunity to trade Gleyber, or they could have, and they didn't. They think they're better with him at second when I don't think so. I think that they're a logjam. So I like their infield. I don't love it. I think it's going to be. I think it seems that they better be happy with it because they are heavily ground ball oriented. Their staff is so big on the sinker right now that they better feel good about what they've got down there because you do not want any. You don't want a porous experience on the right side. I'm not worried so much about Rizzo. He'll be great no matter what. But I'm thinking more about Gleyber. Gleyber, to me, is a perfectly decent second baseman when he wants to play, when he's got his head in the game. And I think for whatever reason, he loses it, so he misses out on he tries to turn like average, crappy plays, simple plays into difficult ones because he's got an ego. And I you can see it the way he plays. He plays like he wants to create, he wants to make that spectacular play. And when you do that, you make mistakes. You kick the ball around a little bit. You make bad throws. He's always bad around the bag. And I don't understand why he's so bad around the bag. Because, I'm a second baseman myself, pretty lousy one. But one thing I really try to do is do well around the bag. If you drop every ball that's hit to you, then at least you have an opportunity. Let it hit you in the face, bounce off, knock out all your teeth, and then pick up the ball and throw it to first, and you get your guy. Especially in the amateur level, like we play, we're so bad and so slow. You have a half an hour to get the ball to first base if the guy hasn't died on the way down the line. So in the major leagues, they have a little less time, but they still have an opportunity. But bad around second, around the bag is to me really a mistake. Drops a lot of balls to let it go stuff go through. Um, just doesn't seem to. He's got great hands on third base and great hands at shortstop, but then he drops the ball. I don't get it. So that's my concern.
I think the footwork around second base is where he is weakest,
Yep.
whereas also his range is not that good. And he does have a tendency to take the routine play and make it more difficult. I mistakenly was allowed to coach high school baseball the last few years, and our head coach at the varsity level, Angelo Scavone, had this saying with regard to defense, and this is why we worked on fundamentals: make 100% of the routine plays. That gets you into the good habits. It gets you into the right frame of mind. Then you will make some of the outstanding plays because you're going to have all of those skills carry over to making the tougher play. The footwork on the throws. I mean, watch the footwork of Glaber on his throws. Oh my God, it's pathetically awful. And his footwork on the double play is bad. Not to mention, he seems more afraid than Jorge Posada on a tag at the plate when a guy's stealing second base. I mean, I don't get the guys going in front of the bag to steal, to cover on a steal when the ball travels faster than the glove. But even if they're all going to do that, he still tags like he's afraid. Whereas Volpe looks like he can tag. But yeah, the infield should be improved, both offensively and defensively.
It'll be fine. And since they got a lot of lefties in the bullpen, so that means that right side of the infield better be prepared. I mean, they need that to be strong. And so I'm hoping that they're going to work with him on that. Because a lot of it is just, I don't know. I don't know if it's physical. This is what's weird about him. I'm sorry to keep harping on our boy Glaber, but um, it doesn't seem like it's a physical thing. He just doesn't seem to. His head isn't right there. He's thinking about something else. I don't know what's going on, but it's hard for us to look at
He's got
somebody.
the talent, I believe. What's funny, he'll make a hell of a play, but a ball that goes into the outfield, short.
He's pretty good on the ball in the outfield.
Yeah, he can pick that one up better than anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest play at second base, going back on the ball over your head. I mean, I hate that myself. To me, that's the one thing.
He's good on the pop, but I think Frankie was talking about those line drives that you got to take two steps back and get the one hopper in the outfield grass. He is good at those too. Mm-hmm. It's the routine plays that he messes up, and I do think he's got as much talent as any guy.
Yeah,
that they've ever had at second base since Cano, for sure. Cano was better than he was, and look how quickly Cano dropped off.
Well, Cano would mess up an easy play too.
Yeah,
we get his head. I mean, it happened to him too, and I don't know. So.
But Cano dropped off the face of the earth. Not to mention, you got the whole PED issue with Cano. But Cano, he had a couple of really good years in Seattle, and then dropped off the face of the earth as far as statistics go. And I think that the Yankees are looking at a guy like Glaber, who doesn't have the athletic ability that Cano does, of having the wrong type of body to withstand a long
Cano would drive you crazy too. I mean,
what?
Cano would drive you crazy.
Oh yeah, but
I mean, you would take a look at a guy at Pedroia who had maybe not nowhere near the talent of Cano, but had more heart. You'd rather have him. I mean,
but Cano hit 330 and hit 30 homers, and I mean, Cano, even at the end of the day, his offensive stats blow away Torres's offensive stats.
Yeah,
sure.
And his defense is at least as good as Torres's, if not slightly better.
I think it was better. I think he was better. I thought he had a shortstop and a third baseman's arm at second base, which I thought that's what was the big difference about him. He could throw hard. He threw better the first. Had more zip
without any effort.
It was beautiful. He could play, but he also had those mental lapses that seemed to bother his managers a lot. At a time where that mattered.
And I think I noticed a lot last year on those, two hoppers where he has some time to throw the ball to first base. Torres started throwing that little underhand Cano flip last year, but he doesn't have the arm that Cano did, so he can't do it as well as Cano did.
Yeah.
So, but that's the infield. So let's look to the outfield now, right?
Wait a minute, I'm not done. Let's finish
Okay.
up in the infield. We're not done. What do you think of the catchers? That's
Well,
an
I was
interesting
going to go to
question.
them last, but
Oh, okay.
catchers are not.
Well, I mean,
issues for me.
do you really think the infield is better hitting wise?
Oh, absolutely. Just having Rizzo back makes them.
Well, I
better
mean,
hitting-wise.
they're big ifs. He's an if, and so is DJ. You know,
I think Rizzo's less of an if
Okay.
than anybody else that's coming back.
Now I hate to say this because you know how I felt about Josh Donaldson. I mean, he's a better defensive, he's better at third than DJ is, though.
DJ's still a good third baseman. He's not a
Yeah.
bad third baseman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a bad third baseman, and you know, overall, I think DJ's obviously going to perform better than Donaldson did last year.
Yeah.
So they're in a better position than they were last.
I mean, he's
year.
definitely going to hit better, you know.
Yeah. So and he had a good second half. I mean, he hit 270 with a 340 on base at second half of last year. TJ, so he did make a little bit of a comeback, but even still, just DJ again may not be the most talented guy, similar to a Pedroia type, but you know what you're getting in DJ.
Yeah,
Not going to be quitting DJ. He's going to be in it and doing it. And I just think the infield is better. And I don't think Rizzo's as big a question mark. I mean, yeah, that concussion thing is always a wild card, but he's a guy who didn't miss time before he got this last injury, and he tried to play through it.
All right, and we're talking about defense here now.
Well, defense and offense all together. Put them all together.
All right. So the first thing I think he'll be great defensively. He'll help everybody else. So there's no two ways about
that's
it.
true.
And maybe who's going to have the most impact on is Volpe, because Volpe is going to have that. He's going to come back with a little bit more confidence. Second year can be tough because there's also the second year jinx. So we hope he doesn't have that. But what you do count on is that he's going to have. You want his defense to be even better than last year, and having Rizzo over there. I'm not worried about Rizzo's hitting so much. I think he's going to be okay. I think the Yankee medical staff should be sued for negligence, as we talked about last week. The way they handled him was horrifying. But I think it seems that the doctors that I've been hearing say he's going to be okay.
Right.
The doctors who talk about it.
I mean, the infield at the end of last season was Jake Bauers. Jake Bauers was your first baseman.
It was horrifying.
It was horrifying. And then, they had Billy McKinney over there for a little bit.
Defense, they're much better.
Well, even offensively, those guys were crap.
Oh, they were terrible. So the offense and the
brought
defense.
nothing to the table.
Yeah, everything will be a lot better this year. There's no question.
And then your backup infielders now are Peraza and Cabrera. They're not IKF, right? So I think they're better that way as well.
Yeah. So an interesting question also. Some people I've been hearing, I'm not going to talk about this, but when do we start seeing Aaron Judge getting a little first base? Does he ever come over to first base?
I don't think they should ever put him there. I think there's a better chance.
They're already working him out a little.
Better chance of Jones going over there than there is Judge. Jones's build, even though he's also 6'6", 6'7", whatever the hell he is, he's a much more Bellinger type body than Judge. Judge is too bulky, and you know what I mean? He's just too big a person, and I don't mean bulky in the sense that he's muscle bound. I think he's just not as flexible a person as Jones's body type is. So if we shoot to the outfield now, all right, last year's starting outfield was Hicks, Bader, and Judge. And then let's throw the DH in there because Stanton is sort of an outfielder DH, right?
Yeah, last year you were still hearing them say. Last year they were still saying, and this interesting change in the world in their whole perspective on Stanton. Last year you were hearing, well, we think Stanton's better when he plays in the outfield, so we're going to give him every opportunity to do that. And they're not saying anything. They do not want Stanton with a glove this year. They don't want him with a glove.
I disagree. Boone said yesterday that he sees Stanton playing some outfield, but it's going to be hard for him to get some outfield time.
Where?
Well, when Soto DHs and when Judge DHs, Stanton will get out there. I mean, it'll be the same as last year. I don't think he's going to play more than 50. I mean, granted, he's only going to play 100 games all season, but I don't think he's going to play more than 30 to 40 games out in the outfield.
Yeah.
And then so last year's outfield, the starting outfield last year was those three guys. And then they finished the season, and then, obviously they had the horrid bench of Frenchie Cordero. as their bench guy at the start of the season last year. Whereas this year, their bench guys are now going to be, and Cabrera, your bench guys this year are going to be Cabrera and
Grisham.
Yeah.
with Dominguez being out there. Plus, you're going to have Verdugo. So it's Verdugo, Judge, and Soto in the outfield. Right away, the three starters are, okay, Bader was a stud center fielder. Judge is a good center fielder. Bader's a Gold Glover. Soto's not the best right fielder that there is, and he's not as good as Judge was. But the pitch was awful as a defensive player. For some reason, he just fell off the cliff there. And he was terrible as an offensive player. Verdugo is a good outfielder. So you can have two good outfielders or very good outfielders and Soto.
And then who else?
And then
Who's your fourth guy?
There's no comparison.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no comparison offensively. They're going to be better. And you're still talking about Dominguez, who will come back in June or July.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's going to be an interesting logjam. That'll what they're going to do there. I see them moving Judge out of center. They, I was talking to Roy White about this, and I think I brought it up in one of the previous shows that he thinks that Judge wants to play center field. Like he thinks Judge wants it.
He does. He does.
And he thinks he's good. He says the Yankees want him there or not is a different story. But then he wants the ball in center field. He wants to be there, and that says a lot about him. I just love him, but and I don't care that he's not as good as some of the other guys. He's not, his metrics aren't as good as others, but he seems to get to everything. He seems very, very, very good.
He's 3 steps from every fly ball.
Yeah. How many steps am I from there? I'm like 19 steps from
his 3
dropping
steps.
The ball.
His 3 steps are 45 of mine, so I can't really argue with you. Frankie, what do you think about the outfield this year compared to last year?
Oh, much better defensively, of course, offensively too. I mean, I think really good. Well, like I said, Bader didn't play that much anyway, so
no. It's such a disappointment.
If you look at where they were as to where they are better. Yeah. But Bader going into the season,
he was there starting day, but he wasn't there much after that.
Right. Well, that's the thing is when Dominguez comes back, you say they're going to have a logjam. By the time July comes around,
somebody gets hurt.
Stanton's gone. Let's face facts.
Stanton's going to be in the middle of like a 40-day disabled list for a hemorrhoid. It'll be something stupid.
You might see Grisham in there more than you think.
What'd you say, Frank?
I think you're going to see Grisham in center more than you think. I mean,
late in games,
I think you might see Grisham go to center and Judge to right if Judge will allow it. It definitely is something that could happen.
It just doesn't help at the bat, but I mean,
he's not the worst bat that there is. If the Yankees can get him to swing more, he's at least he doesn't.
That was the missing. That's the whole.
Grisham is his strikeout rate is a lot related to the fact that he doesn't swing, not that he swings at bad pitches, and that's different, right?
And that's coaching. That can be taught. I think the pitch rec. You can be taught to alter your approach. The question is bat speed. If his bat speed is as bad as what Stanton's has become, which is definitely slower than it was. If he starts having a problem catching up to fastballs, then that's a different story. But what you're seeing with this guy is he's just not swinging. He just sits there. He sits on everything, and maybe that's a nice thing for a leadoff hitter, but not for a fourth outfielder to try to get prove his value.
Yeah, I mean, and then so we seem like we have a consensus that they are better right now than they were at the end of last season, and likely better than the beginning of last season, right? And we haven't even talked about the fact that their bench now is Cabrera and Pereira and Grisham, which is better than the bench last year, which was McKinney and Frenchie Cordero and the guy who never got a chance, Esteban Florial, right? So now, if you go behind the plate, sticking to the stuff, right? Last year they opened the season, it looked good. It was Trevino and Higgy, and that looked good, right?
It was okay. I never liked the fact that they had two right-handed hitters.
Position.
It's always bothered me that they have two right-handed catchers. I've wanted a left-handed catcher for years. So to me, since Posada, they haven't had a good left-handed hitter back there who is missing out on most of the platoon splits. So it seemed that they're better off now having him if he can catch the ball. That's the question.
Wells was fine. Cole said he wanted Wells as his catcher once Trevino was out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if Cole wants him and says it's good enough, who are we to say anything else?
Yeah,
what do you
it's a
think,
good sign that he likes both catchers. He's going to be very happy with both.
I like Higgy, but I mean, he's gone. But I think that they're probably better with Wells.
Yeah,
going to play.
I mean,
Wells is going to hit 15 home runs from the left side. He's going to get. The question I have is how are they going to allocate the at bats in the games? Like in the past, you'd have your usual. You have two right-handed catchers. One of them plays on a weekend game, and the rest of the games with a day off are played by your starter. Now
that's not the way the Yanks worked it, though. The Yanks worked it where they had, when it was Trevino and Higgy healthy 2 years ago, Trevino was catching two of the five starters. Was Trevino's day.
Yeah.
And at the end of games, one of them would usually get pinch hit for, and then the other one might be finishing up a game. So I mean, the Yankees, even when they had two right-handers, that's what they did. I don't agree with what you're saying. I think that they did allocate the time based on the pitcher. Trevino was catching Cole for sure, and then Trevino was catching another guy. So, but this year I think it'll be more of a platoon. A lot of it will depend on the fact that already Trevino's got an injury, and whether or not Wells can do the job. But if Wells can't do the job, the Yanks are in a lot of trouble because Rorschach is fine. He's neither here nor there. He caught the ball well last year, and then they don't really have anybody after that. Carlos Navarez is an unknown young guy.
They've got a lot of catching depth in the minor leagues.
Right. The key to the Yankees have always, since Posada, the Yankees have looked at catcher as a defensive position. Yes, Higgy hit 20 home runs in the minors, blah, blah, blah. But it's always been looked at since Posada. And even before Posada, it was looked at as a defensive position for the Yankees because they had enough hitting elsewhere. If all goes according to plan, they should have enough hitting elsewhere.
All right. So here, the thing about catching, that you're hearing a lot of talk about how Wells surprised everybody with being better behind the plate than they thought. This is the kind of thing that I hate when I hear it because then now he comes in, maybe he doesn't work a little bit as hard, maybe he's feeling everything is good, and then he starts to decline, then he starts to regress. So I hope that they keep focusing on his defense because it would be nice to have him as your starter next year and the year after. I'd like to see him be the 30 home run, left-handed home run, catcher that they could really use that kind of pop from the left side in that lineup. It'll make Kramer very happy to have that kind of left-handed guy.
So basically, you don't want Wells to become Sanchez.
I don't want, and that's exactly why I brought it up because I was thinking of the year I don't want him to become Sanchez. That's funny because it's exactly what I was thinking. I remember when Sanchez came up and hit all those home runs, they said, but his catching is okay too. He's okay. He didn't surprise us behind the plate. He didn't hurt us. He came up and he became the butcher on 161st Street. I mean, it was terrible. How bad he was.
He wasn't bad. Initially, he wasn't bad. He got bad. That's what was so
He got bad every year
after
he got progressively worse behind the plate.
Came up and he was good. When they started concentrating on the whole framing thing, and he was more worried about that.
Yeah. He was toast.
No offense to him, but I look at Sanchez in a similar fashion that I look at probably worse off than Torres with regard to not being able to put the complete game together mentally and physically and segregate the offense and the defense in their minds, right?
Got it.
I think the Bader was a little bit like that as well. He wasn't hitting or he wasn't in the lineup or he was hurt and different things. Frazier was like that too. They would mental eggplants. So.
We've done a lot with the infield and the catchers. I think what I want to do is let's play one of our guests,
let's
guest messages.
Let's let the Kramer. Let's get our little Kramer bobbleheads together here, folks. Kramer has a little comment about the pitching, which is what we're about to talk about. So let's.
K-Dog here. I want to discuss Trevor Bauer. I've been going back and forth in my mind. The Yankees should sign him. The Yanks should not even touch him. But now that I think about it, if it's going to cost the league minimum for a 1-year deal plus a small amount of incentives, I say go for it. When have the Yankees in the past been afraid of a PR hit? If it doesn't work out, then you just release him. Thanks.
Kramer out.
This is what I think.
Wow. I don't like this Bauer thing. He loves his Bauer.
Very angry indeed. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Kramer doesn't want to listen. First of all, the guy is a cancer in the clubhouse.
Yeah,
Nobody
it's really
liked him anywhere he was. Secondly, he dated Cole's wife before Cole did. This is just not going to work, and you can't mess with Cole under any circumstances. I'm not going to get into the accusations against him, which he got off the hook for because he paid him off. You just can't mess with Garrett Cole.
It would be a colossally stupid move.
He doesn't come with the baggage. He comes with the whole moving truck. I don't like it at all.
Exactly, Frank. Exactly. I can't begin to say it. It's so ridiculous. I won't even allow it to happen to think about it, because it's like when we talk about trades, when we start talking about let's trade 9 guys and we try to pick 9 guys that are going to move. It'll never happen. So I almost wonder why we do it. This is one of those where we just talk about it. The Yankees aren't going to do this. They have enough problems. They had Germán last year. Germán, they have his issues. They've got these guys who have been problems in the past, and they just don't like it. They'll do it, but they don't. They're not just gonna do this for the sake of it. And there's so many reasons why he's gonna be a problem. Just forget it. Forget it. Bauer is not. Bauer's gonna be in the independent league, and he's gonna be over with the Ducks.
Bauer wasn't that good when he played in Asia last season.
Good. So he's gonna be with the Long Island Ducks, playing for the the Rappahannock School for Women's softball team. I don't know where, but he's not going to be a New York Yankee. Okay, sorry, Crane. Love you,
Frankie. Would you like to chime in? Anything different?
What's that?
Anything different on Trevor Bauer?
No, like I said, he's got too much baggage. I mean, I wouldn't touch him at all. I mean, makeup. They always say get somebody with bad makeup, but sooner or later it catch up. The catch up with you with trouble.
And
Verdugo would get quick.
Agree. Verdugo's got some issues.
Yeah, I have concerns with him as well.
That's got me concerned. I thought about that a little bit. He seems to have a little bit of an ego problem. And this is the kind of thing that Boone doesn't do well. Like, Boone isn't going to reprimand this guy, and so hopefully he's going to rise to the occasion. He'll become a Yankee.
Well, the last guy we got was good to get because he had a good edge and a good chip on his shoulder. Was Donaldson. That
was so stupid. What a terrible move.
Oh, and I was actually on his side. I know I was the only one. I'm also the one that thought that Sonny Gray would win a Cy Young as a Yankee. So what the hell do I really know?
So did I. That one.
Bupkis. You know nothing.
But I will say this: he gets Cy Young votes before he's a Yankee. He gets Cy Young votes after he's a Yankee. At least
what's the common denominator here?
At least Ed Whitson had the grace to not be good even after he left the Yankees.
I know.
As opposed to Sonny Gray, who decided, it's just a Yankee thing. So if you look at the rotation, right? Going into last season, the rotation was Cole, Germán, Cortez, Rodon, and Schmidt, right? Because even though Rodon got hurt right away and Severino was hurt, so Johnny Brito was the guy that was in there. They ended the season, God knows who was in the rotation with Michael King and those guys, right? So this year they're going into the season with Cole, Schmidt, Cortez, Rodon, and Stroman is their 5 starters. Same question mark that they had last year, if not bigger, because Rodon is a huge question mark, and Nestor is a question mark.
The key to this season, and I'm telling you this now, it is not the offense. The offense will be excellent. It's not going to be. Hopefully, it's not going to be the bullpen. It's going to be the starting pitch. It's going to be Carlos Rodon. I'm going on the record right now saying they will do as well as he does. If he comes in, gets them 35 starts, wins 10 to 15 games, even 12 games, whatever, that'll be fine. pitches to an ERA under 4, they will be fine. If he's not, it's going to be a real problem. Real
right.
problem. I don't see it.
I,
It'll be
I
a
am officially.
mid-season trade.
I am
You don't agree?
depressed. I am.
You don't agree?
No, I do agree. That's why I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I do not have high hopes for Carlos Rodon.
You know him from your time in San Francisco. Tell us what he was like.
He was great his last year in Chicago. It was the first year he didn't get injured, and he had a great year.
Mm-hmm.
He signed with San Francisco because nobody would give him a multi-year deal. He signed 1 year in San Francisco, had an unbelievable year, and then he signed the big contract with the Yankees, and he was hurt. What is the pattern there?
Yeah.
Contract year performer. Reminds me of Aaron Hicks, right? It's Aaron
That's
Hicks.
how these guys are.
Yeah,
and that's a real problem.
Yeah, it scares me. I mean, you got all these other guys. You got Warren, and you got Heel, and you got what's the other clown's name? They got Beater, and they got
Clark Schmidt. I mean, they've got so the guys are Warren and there's another kid,
Luke Weaver, the guy Poteet that they signed to a minor league deal in the Florial trade. I mean, they've got all these guys that are never was or has-beens as backfill in the pitching rotation. That's kind of scary. Now that's you know what, they traded 4 guys plus Higgy to get Soto, and this is what happens.
Yeah, your depth takes a hit, and I would have liked them to do a little bit more. I wonder, any reason to believe? I had this vision of a text coming over from Kramer, from you. Sorry, you saw it on X. Yanks signed Snell for a 2-year contract at $35 million a year, with an out clause, with an opt out next year.
Where are you seeing that?
I saw it in my mind's eye.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I saw it happening March 1st of 2024. Yanks are about to go, just starting their schedule, and they get a deal, and the Yankees go out and buy him for 2 years, 1 year guarantee, at a high annual. And I thought, what a great thing that would be. That would be nice. Short
that's a good
term.
dream.
It's I actually.
Ain't happening.
Cashman came out in his press conference yesterday or today and said that they're still looking at pitching. What's the guy's name? One of the writers for the Post. It's Sherman. What's the other guy's name? Sherman and Peabody.
It's Verducci, not Verducci. Heyman.
Yeah,
Heyman.
one of them came out and said that the Yankees just Cashman said they're looking at pitching, and this guy came out and said it. I've been saying it for a long time. I felt stronger when I said it a couple of weeks ago. The Yankees should offer Snell 3 years and $90 million, with an opt-out after each of the years, and a Yankee option to buy him out for $5 million after the first year and $10 million after the second year, so that it's like a $35 million guarantee, which puts him in below Cole, but gives him the money that he wants, unless he wants to walk away. But the Yankees have a different problem when it comes to that, and that comes down to money. What is that? Is that a horse's ass, or is that just Dave DeMaio? Anyhow,
It kind of looks like the Mayo a little bit.
Well, listen, what it comes down to is this: last year the Yankees paid $32 million in competitive balance tax. Right? They have the highest payroll right now in baseball, blowing away even the Dodgers. Since 2003, since the competitive balance tax has been in place, there's been $900 million spent by teams in the competitive balance tax. The Yankees have paid $390 million. 43% of every dollar into the competitive balance tax has been the Yankees. They don't want to spend it. Right now, if nothing changes, they're looking at a $50 million competitive balance tax for 24. They're not going to sign Snell for $30 million.
Win the frickin' World Series. It'll pay for itself.
Unless they shed payroll. And the only 2 guys they can shed payroll with are Verdugo and Torres. And that's only $22 million.
I'm going to say it again. The Yankees can afford it. It's terrible that they have to pay it, but win the freaking World Series and it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what I'm saying.
it's not my money. That's a lot of money to, if they
I
signed him
agree.
for
It's
$90
not
million
my money. It is your money. You never go to games. You're not like me. I'm an idiot. I go 10, 15 times a year.
well, you should be
And I got to
buying him
bring
on the
my
secondary
son.
market.
It is your money.
It
It
is
is my money, fantasy camp money that they whatever. But if they sign Snell for $30 million, that's like $60 million, and that puts their property tax, their competitive balance tax up to $80 million.
He lives in You live in the Bay Area. You know all about that.
My
All right,
property
so
taxes are nothing. Don't get me started.
let's talk about let's play Steve Caro here. I love Steve Caro. Good friend,
you want me to
friend
play
of the
him?
show.
I'll play Steve Caro.
The problem I see with this year's team so far is that they don't have the bench. They don't have the veterans off the bench like they did in the 90s to come in and spell guys who are winded or wounded. This is just going to be the same as last year at this point, and they need to make this team stronger, and they need better pitching.
What do you think, Franklin?
What do you think, Frank?
I couldn't hear anything he said.
Well, he's calling us from either Dave and Buster's or his favorite brothel. I don't know which.
It was his brothel. Definitely. I'll tell him.
He says the Yankees don't have depth. Guys are going to get hurt, which they always do, and they don't have the veteran presence like they did in the 90s, which I'm assuming he was referring to Cecil Fielder, Darryl Strawberry, Tim Raines.
Now, this is I love when people say that, and I love Steve, and he's right. The problem is that was an outlier. That was unique. That was something that will never happen again.
No,
that kind of depth. That kind of depth on because of everything you said before. All those guys made a lot of money back then in their time, but money that the Yankees could afford to pay. To get that quality to have on your backup, assuming these guys even want to do it, you got to get personalities who can handle that. Those guys did. But to get that kind of quality again at the right price, given competitive balance tax, as you mentioned, I just can't see it. It's such a great thing, but it'll never happen. That's what made them such a great team, by the way. That they
a lot of those guys were in-season pickups, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what shakes loose at the end of
They were very good at that.
July.
Do you remember how good they were at that? Like they would pick up guys that were just the right piece.
Yeah.
Justice. Aaron Boone was one. Didn't have a great year with the Yankees, but when he hit the home run, he'll never be forgotten. He's got a job as a result of it. Now he's manager because of that one moment.
And,
yeah.
And if you look at it,
mid-season.
If Dominguez comes back in July and steps into the starting lineup, all of a sudden you've got guys like Verdugo and Grisham on the bench, which are veterans. I mean, Benintendi was in and out as a Yankee, right? But and then on the infield, they definitely don't have the kind of depth. On the infield, they have young players, Peraza and Cabrera. So they don't have the depth there.
I think it's nice to have the veteran, but I mean that's the least of their problems right now. Like I said, the pitching staff outside of Cole, they're all S. Even Nestor. I mean, we might have seen his career year a couple of years ago. We may never see that again.
I love Nestor. Love the way he carries himself. Love the way he pitched. But at a certain point in time, there's a reason he bounced around.
Yeah.
And was cut by the Yankees and cut by the Orioles and cut by the Mariners. And I don't mind if he doesn't get hurt. I think he's an excellent 4-starter. I don't think he's better than that. A 3-starter, and then he pitched to be a 2-starter for a season and a half. But
let's talk. This brings up a great point, though. It's a great point. The bullpen,
but then it comes right back to Rodon. I mean, it's
going to come back to Rodon. But let's just say that the staff isn't as good, or they don't have the kind of year that we need them to have, or they need to have. The bullpen is now going to be picking up all those innings, all those 5-inning games that we get when the Yankees are winning 5-4 or losing 7-6 going into the 5th inning because they're having a problem with the bullpen with the starter. What are the Yankees? We know they're going to hit. So this is what worries me. What are they going to hand? Who are they going to hand the ball off to? What do you think about Efros? Is that another? What do you think about losing Efros? Frank,
it's horrible because he was good and he's young and he was signed and he's controllable. I mean, again, if you look at last year going into the season, it was Holmes, Loizaga, King, Marinaccio, Peralta, Albert Abreu, Cordero, Canley, and Efros was out for the season, and Trevino was gone right away. By the end of the year, you had a whole bunch of guys like Vasquez and Brito and Middleton and Ramirez and Ian Hamilton and Luke Weaver. So this year you're coming in and you got Holmes and Loizaga, Marinaccio, you've got Heel, you've got Warren, you've got Luke Weaver,
Canley
is back. So you've got some guys, you got bullpen pieces, but
Loizaga is going to be very important, and I agree with that. They were talking about that last night on their show. Very important guy this year because he could be that. They say it. He could be that Rivera type guy from '96 who takes 76 who gets to 7th and 8th inning. But he's such an eggplant. It just seems to me that he just can't handle certain things.
Well, he's got
then he gets hurt.
He's got the best stuff in the bullpen. I mean, the Giants. You talk about we want to rip Cashman a new one all the time. Talkman for Peralta, Loizaga off the scrap heap, both from the Giants.
Yeah, I mean he's good. That he's very good at those pickups. I have to tell you, nobody turns a turd into a shiny little rock like our buddy Cashman. It's just
when it comes to the bullpen. When it comes to the bullpen.
Yeah, they're very good at that. They seem to really have it nailed. But last night, I don't know if you saw the hot stove. Michael K said the stupidest thing. God forbid. Imagine that. And Michael, we know you're listening tonight, so participating. So we apologize.
Well, Dave DeMeo is friends with Kay, and he turned him on to the show.
That's all right. Okay. So, Michael, if I've offended, my apologies. But you were stupid. That was not the way. That is a dumb thing to say. He said that the Efros thing is going to be good for them because he's going to have an opportunity coming back from Tommy John to get himself into optimum condition and be ready and here we go, the classic. It's like having a trade, like making a midseason deal to get him back 100%. He's not going to be able to pitch with his shoulder. He's having back surgery. He's not going to be able to pitch for a while. So I don't know what they're talking about. He had back surgery in December. I don't think he's going to be throwing, very often, going in for another 4 months. So what are they thinking about? He's going to come back. He's not going to be. He doesn't have more time to recover from Tommy John when he can't throw. So I think a lot of Tommy John recovery is throwing, is getting yourself back is working through it, and you need to throw. And I don't think he's going to be doing that. So, another ridiculous mindset. But a loss, a lot of lefties. And then they go out and get a 5 foot 2 inch tall lefty. Who the hell is that? What do they need another lefty for?
Which guy was the 5 foot 2 lefty?
The guy you were talking to, you mentioned that he was only 5 foot 2. The guy they got yesterday off the scrap heap. They traded.
Oh, that was Kramer. No, Kramer said the guy they got off the scrap heap yesterday was the guy they got from the Brewers.
And right? What's his name? Yeah, from the Brewers.
Something with a V, Bios or something like that.
All right, but
I forgot. But he's not going to make the roster. I mean,
a little stupid, as we call it.
Well, listen, when Kramer was on the show, and we'll have him back, Kramer was pushing guys like Crook and Ramirez and all these lefties he wanted on the roster. None of them are going to be on the team this year. The lefties they got, I do think the two guys they got from the Dodgers are good. They have high upside. Ferguson and what's the other guy's name? Damn it. Ferguson and Gonzalez. Ferguson and Gonzalez have high upside.
And the fact that they don't panic about this really amazes me. I think that they must really feel they have an engine that they can just keep feeding to bring in these guys. Because they don't panic about loss of any reliever, and they lose every one of them. Like, everybody's gotten hurt except Holmes. And Holmes is my concern is Holmes is going to forget how to pitch 10 days in July. He's going to lose the strike zone, and they're going to lose 9 games.
Right. Well, we're spoiled when it comes to closers. I mean, we went basically from Rivera to Robertson to Chapman to now Holmes.
Remember when they had Soriano? Remember Soriano? He stepped in the year he blew out his knee, and boy was he
Right,
good.
but
that
I mean,
year.
we've had
Always.
some of the best closers. I mean, there's nobody they had the best closer in the history of the game, and then the best closer of the last 15 to 20 years is Chapman. I mean, the guys were lights out. Chapman was lights out for 7 or 8 years as a Yankee. Let's not kid ourselves. And Robertson was lights out for the 2 years as the holdover after Rivera. You know, Holmes is your typical closer. He has his moments.
And it may only have a few years, like a lot of closers. Only
Yes,
have
the
3 or 4 good years, and
closers
that's
seem to be
it.
very fungible.
Do you
So,
think they
let's
like
like-
Do they think Loizaga can close?
No, well, they think he has the talent. Let's see what else K-Dog has to say for himself. Here we go.
K-Dog here. I think the Yankee offseason has been somewhat successful. Juan Soto is a generational talent, so he's definitely going to help, but he can't do it alone. So the Yankees will need some bounce back. On the pitching front, signing Stroman was a smart move because it's 2 years, so it's good terms. And I like the 2 lefties that the Yankees obtained in trades. What do you guys think? Thank you.
Well, we think that was a much more intelligent call than the Trevor Bauer call.
Definitely far superior. Like a steak from Burns's. Superior. Thank you. Thank you,
Pork
Kramer,
chops.
for
It's low
saving
salt
yourself.
pork chops, Kramer. Low salt pork chops. It was an
And
excellent
don't
call.
buy 2, and do not buy 2 entrees.
No, he gets to buy 2 entrees. You owe him 1 and I owe him 1.
I
And you're
know,
taking them out. You and Jamie.
I'm going to take them
them
out. I will.
And I have to buy 1 of the entrees. All right, so
The
we
stress.
talked a lot about the Yankees. Let's get a non-Yankee guy in here. Granted, it's like 5 minutes left in the show, but our friend Rob Weber from the Highlights from Lowlifes, the man who's scared to play golf with us tomorrow, and his buddies, Jeff Jones, the man who loses 100 pounds and is slower runner than he's ever been. Rob Lanterman, the man who missed the easiest ground ball in the history of mankind, makes a great play and then throws it away. And then yesterday they had J.C. Penney on, who might be slower than Jeff Jones. But JC didn't say any nasty things about us, so we'll be nice to JC. I love JC, quite frankly. And anybody who's named JC Penny, you know he's in the value bin.
Play it.
Here's Weber.
It's spring training, and they always say, hope springs eternal. When your team comes to spring training, they have a chance because everybody's tied. Well, I don't actually feel that way. The difference between the high market teams and the low market teams is so huge that most teams have no chance in hell. So I just try to enjoy the game and not let that bother me.
See?
I love when they cry poor about it.
I love that comment. You know I love that comment because you
Well, tell that to the Rays.
What?
Tell that to the Rays.
Listen, I think that these small market teams that aren't willing to spend money, even those that are competitive, which is the Rays and the Marlins now, should be folded.
Yeah.
Fold them up. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
It'll make every baseball game much more enjoyable.
Well, that's the question. You know, have we improved enough to catch any of the 3 teams ahead of us? I mean,
I think that the Blue Jays are the same as they've been, and I think the Yankees. Well, let's talk about it this way. Who do you think had a better offseason than the Yankees in all of baseball?
Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
Dodgers.
That's an easy one.
without that, yeah.
And who else?
The Mets didn't do anything. The Mets didn't get better. The Mets actually looked like they were trying not to make any moves this year. So it was very upsetting to all of our Met fans who listen to the show every day.
They might be better. They might be better than last year. The Mets.
Well, they will because
The
they'll have
Mets.
a
Well,
closer.
they get Diaz back. They get Diaz back. I mean, they got a closer.
Well, let's. How about the
That's what
Braves?
hurt them last year.
How about the Braves? I think they had a good offseason.
They had a good one, but they were already great. So I don't think that
the Dodgers were already great, and they had a good one. The Braves. Think about the Braves, right? Chris Sale, even if you get a half the season out of him.
Smart moves.
Ronaldo Lopez, Joe Jimenez. They got Aaron Bummer for the bullpen. They picked up Jared Kelenic to play left field, or Kelenic, depending on how you want to look at him. They did a good thing.
And you know
to do a lot.
They did. And Houston did very well too. I think Houston picking up Hader and moving Presley to set up
Toronto picked up Justin Turner.
Yeah. Toronto did okay. I don't think Toronto's much better, and I think the Yankees can overtake them. The one that interests me is obviously Baltimore. What's also interesting to me is what is wrong with the Red Sox? What are they doing? What is the game plan for the Red Sox? How are they allowed? How can they be another last place season? And they're going to have it. They suck. And what in the world? Where did they? When did they stop spending money? When did they stop with player development?
So that what's funny is I
Hey.
pulled an article. I pulled an article from the Google machine, and it's from Jordan Shusterman from Fox Sports, and he ranked the teams 1 to 30 as to the best and worst offseason. Worst offseason, they said the Colorado Rockies. Second worst offseason, the Marlins. Third worst offseason, the Guardians, and fourth was the Dodgers.
The Dodgers have the worst?
The Red Sox. I'm sorry. I don't have
Red Sox.
I was told to be. They signed Lucas Giolito and traded away Chris Sale. They got a core infield, Chris Sale, and they got Vaughn Grisham to play infield, and they swapped out Alec Verdugo for Tyler O'Neill. And that's all they did. But they did bring back Epstein, so we'll see if that helps them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're actually excited about that. Like, that's going to be a big difference maker, and it will be. But, I mean,
as a Yankee fan,
not today.
I don't care what's behind us. It's 3 teams ahead of us.
Right. And then what's funny is my friends out here in California in the Bay Area are upset because the Giants had a really crappy offseason.
Well, nobody will go. Nobody wants to play there. What is wrong with? Is it just
the Giants?
Hitters don't want to go there.
The Giants. I like I've said every time we talk about it. If I was a pitcher, that's where I'm going.
I know. I don't understand why they don't have an incredible. They should have the top 5 that is unhittable, because I want to go. I want everyone, any team, any free agent. I want to go. Why isn't Snell there? They don't want Snell.
No, they're gonna be sneaky. Think about it. Even though they did nothing, I mean, they didn't have much pitching last year, but they did add Jordan Hicks, who they're going to make a starter for some reason, and they also added Robbie Ray, who's coming off Tommy John surgery, and a Cy Young.
Where's the Rays on that list?
The Tampa Bay Rays on this list are 19th because they didn't do very much because they got rid of Glass now.
Yeah,
they don't have a shortstop. They got rid of Luke Raley for Jose Caballero. And that's really about all they did.
Yeah, it's a problem. And they, but they find a way. So that team, unlike, certain teams that we know, they're very resilient, and they don't spend their money badly. And they seem to find an endless supply of players, even though in the minors, even though they win a lot. And they don't get high draft choices. They must just pick very well. They're smart.
They can really develop players well.
They're smart. And they get rid of them at the right time.
And then you have the team like the Blue Jays, who really didn't do much of anything, up or down, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do much of anything. I mean, they kept Kiermaier. They did sign Justin Turner.
They got Turner.
And they got Yariel Rodriguez, which is the closer from Cuba. Mm-hmm. So they didn't do it. I mean, in Houston, you want to say Houston, all they did, I mean, it's a big thing that they did, but they got Josh Hader, and they now have no minor league depth left. I mean, they really have no minor league depth. Yeah. So if they get any injuries,
that's going to be a problem. What happens if they lose, Jordan? I mean, what are they going to do if they lose, Altuve again? I mean, Altuve seems to get hurt a lot now every year.
Yeah. So, and they just gave him that 5-year deal with the ever decreasing salary. And Verlander is already on the shelf with a lat issue.
You mentioned today, I saw a text. You said something about the Orioles already having a guy who needs. That
was Kramer again. Kramer was all over it.
Was it Kramer?
Kramer said one of their starters. Let me look. I can look it up for you because Kramer's all over this. Where is Kramer's little message?
This is UCL.
It's nice. He's got a strain. He's on his way to Tommy John surgery. There's no ifs.
All right. Well,
it was one of their starters, but the Orioles. I mean, they definitely improved their rotation with Burns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great move. A move I wanted the Yankees to make, but
they do have a problem. They do have a problem at closer though. Kimbrel's their closer.
Yeah.
Batista's out for the season.
Yeah. Well, and then the Yankees didn't make that move. They really wanted it. What? Ooh, do I have a message from Steve? Oh,
He's
just
mad at me.
got caught a couple of minutes. Had PT. Oh well. We didn't get Uncle Stevie today, but all right. So it's 7 o'clock. Look what time it is. It is 8 o'clock. I've got to go to baseball practice. All right.
And you need it. That's for damn sure.
Desperately.
What I will say to you guys is thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We are thank you for our guest today, Mr. Frankie Cassese. And
Another salute to Joe.
Joe, we love you.
Shout out to Joe. We're ending a
Have
little
Joe
abruptly.
back on maybe next week, a week after. Maybe we'll have the two of you on. I think a Joe. How about this one? A Frankie and a Joey combo.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think a Frank and a Osti combo would be nice, since that would work well.
Love it.
Two of them, and then the one guy who seems to have disappeared from the face of the earth is Joe Cavalleo. We'd like to have him come on.
Stain. Bring the Stain on.
What?
Stain.
All right, so I'll leave you guys with this thought, and we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, guys.
The one constant through all the years, Ray,
It's baseball.
America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.